Karen speaking. Thank you to our panellists for their stories and insights, and to Michelle for her facilitation of the panel. Now we move to the second panel, where the topic is Sharing an Inclusive Future, First Nations. Uncle Paul Calcott, Co-Vice Chair, Mob for Mob. Melanie Sully, Coordinator of Advocacy Services, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Disability Network Queensland. David Harmer, acting CEO or Deputy CEO, Queensland Aboriginal and Islander Health Council. The facilitator for this panel is Auntie Seema Mocock Wishki, First Nations and Disability Advocate.
So first of all, I'd just like to say a big welcome to everybody, and it's an honour to be here on this very important day when First Nations people with a disability are coming together to talk about their needs and how we're going to go forward. But first of all, what I'd like to do is I'd like to acknowledge the traditional people of the land. I'd like to acknowledge the Jagera and the Turrbal people, and I pay my respects to elders past, present and future. I also would like to acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that are here in the room today and online, and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with disabilities throughout Australia. The description of me, I don't have a problem with age, so I'll name it. I'm a 68-year-old First Nations woman. I have black hair, it's tied up today. I'm wearing black clothing and a First Nations scarf, and I'm really happy to be here. So oops, did I just slip that out? So once again, this is a real privilege to be here. And it's a privilege because I came to Brisbane in 1997, and I'm a carer of an adult son who has high complex disabilities, and he was just a small child when I came. And I couldn't find any Aboriginal people, and no one could put me in contact with them. So what happened was there's Uncle Willie, Byron Aubrey, 2 or 3 people started coming together, and we started to talk in 1997. What can we do? Why isn't there anything here? What's happening? So today is exciting because I'm hoping that we can actually really, take a quantum leap from what has been said today about what we can do for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with a disability living in Queensland. So what I'd like to do is I would like to invite Uncle Paul. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous because I just don't do this sort of stuff often. I usually am on the ground working with people with disabilities, but I'd like to invite Uncle Paul to talk to us about a few things, and my question is, how are we going to prepare for the challenges and the opportunities of tomorrow as we go forward? Sorry about that. As we go forward with the disability reforms and the Brisbane 232 Olympic and Paralympic Games. And also too, shall I add the second part? I'd also like to ask how we can leverage these changes to shape and deliver an exclusive future for First Nations people in Queensland, so that it's culturally accessible and culturally sensitive, and it can share the richness of our culture with the world in 2032.
Thanks, Emma. That's a lot to answer in 8 minutes.
I know.
But I'll give it a go. But first of all, I'd just like to say Yamaduma and Yuanara, Mama Paul, Yidi Amara, Tarabal, and Yagara Mululong. So first I just said, hi everyone, my name's Uncle Paul, hope you're well, and I just paid my respects to the Tagara and Yagara elders. So thanks for that. Look, I think what we can do along those respects is there's a lot going on in Queensland at the moment, and I'm just part of a newly formed peak body group called Mob for Mob. So it's the first time in Queensland we're now the new peak body representative for First Nations people living with disabilities. We're very new, very shiny, but between us, we have many, many, many years of experience around culture, disability, lived experience around how things work. So we bring to the table a lot of knowledge between our group. And we think that's going to have a huge impact now, because now we're a sort of formalised collective voice for First Nations people with disabilities. So, and I hats off to the Queensland government. They've not only invited us to the table, but they've made us feel really welcome and appreciate the knowledge that we will bring. So we'll leverage that over the next few years to actually create a voice and have input into what's going on with mob with disabilities here in Queensland. So there's a lot we will be doing along those lines. With our group, I mean, I'm surrounded by amazing people with disabilities, incredible elders with knowledge and experience, and really like people that have navigated a world not designed for them for many, many years and have done it really, really well. So people are incredibly resilient. And I think a big thing is communication. So what we want to do is start communicating different things to people in a cultural perspective way, making our community more aware of their rights and that as well. We already have a lot of powerful people out there, but what we want to do is equip them with the knowledge to be able to feel that power. And one of the things, actually, I'll just pat ourselves on the back. We recently our small group went to New York and we presented at the United Nations at the COS 17 for the United Nations Convention on the Rights of People with Disability. And what we did was that we took a series of artworks over there, and each of the artworks depicted a particular article of the UN CRPD from a First Nations person with disability perspective. And we thought that was incredibly powerful. We had people coming up and we're sort of we're solution focused, because at the UN a lot of people talk about what's not working, what's not going on. But we went as a group of powerful black fellas that went there and said, well, we've identified some stuff around communication and making people with disabilities aware of their rights. So what we're coming now, this is how we're going to start doing that sort of thing. And also I just realised that I didn't even introduce myself, what I look like. So so I'll quickly do that now. I'm very sorry about that. Look, I'm a fair-skinned black fella. I'm 65. I know I don't look it. And I'm wearing black shirt, blue jeans, yellow shirt, yellow shoes, and I'm in a wheelchair, and I often use my walking stick, my dungay, but my legs are playing up today, so I'm using my wheelchair to get around in. So sorry about that, I didn't identify myself and describe myself. I find it hard to describe myself because I'm always a bit of a slob, so be the case. But you know what, leading up to the Olympics too, just for the other one, I think there are massive opportunities. At the moment we have 4 Indigenous Paralympians in the Olympics. I would like to see some pathways created to get more of our young mob starting to get into the Olympics and identify the sports, because we do a lot more than just play footy. And there's a lot of stuff out there going on. And I think at the moment the Paralympics and what I've seen are real role models for our community, because young people with disabilities can see themselves as these warriors, out there, and they're sort of people with disabilities, but they're warriors, they're out there, they're strong, the prostheses and that are amazing, the technology. So I'd really like some pathways to see by 2032 here in Queensland, we have a lot more of our young people, a lot more First Nations people competing in the Paralympics. I know there's the overall Olympics, but I always come from a disability perspective. That's my barra, that's what I'll push, and do that. And I think there's huge opportunities because we talk about communication. And artwork is a huge part of our communication. We're storytellers. We didn't have a written language. The written language was introduced. We're oral storytellers. We use ancient symbols and styles and artwork to convey messages and tell stories. And one thing that just pops into my head, and there'll be a lot more other things if I start thinking about it, but imagine this. Imagine in the 2032 Games, Paralympians with their prostheses that they're wearing depicting First Nations artwork by First Nations artists with disabilities, showcasing on the world stage the beautiful culture of this country, but each artwork would depict what that sport person is doing. Like, for instance, if it's swimming, it would be freshwater dreaming artwork. If it's track and field, there'd be kangaroo, emu, fast land animal artwork. If it's out in the sea, it'd be saltwater dreaming artwork. So it would be a really good way to showcase that, raise the profile of First Nations artists with disabilities. Amazing thing for them, and just really like the athletes, and not just our Indigenous athletes, but why not all of them, sort of thing. So there's a lot of opportunities if we really start thinking to provide, not only economic participation, but to build cultural awareness, build a self-esteem, and sort of support our mob with disabilities on the contributions they make to our culture and to our community. So not just a seat at the table, but valued seats at the table.
So it's a really exciting time. Can you hear me? Yeah. So it's a really exciting time with the 8 years to come, that we could start thinking about, what we can be doing and planning, those sort of things, how we bring the art and our rich First Nations culture to the world, and have our people having a strong part in that. So how are we going for time for Uncle Paul?
Well done.
Yeah.
2 minutes?
Yes.
In 2 minutes, I can tell you, as a result of going to New York, our art group has now been invited to Korea next month to present at the Pacific Disability Forum there. So, and I've been booked as a keynote speaker, and the Korean government is sponsoring 5 of our artists to go over and present their own artwork. So,
Wow, that's nice.
So we can see that there is massive opportunities to build from this, and this is only just starting. So we're needing the support and thinking about how we go forward with the art and profiling.
the momentum is there, so let's
the
keep it
momentum
going.
is there. That's right, and we need this to be backed. Yeah. So, well, thank you, Uncle Paul. Next, I'd like to invite Melanie in. Melanie is part of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Disability Network. This is the network that the gathering got together. Few people got together in 1997. So I will invite Melanie to share with us her speech.
Thank you, Auntie Seema. I'm too a little bit nervous like Auntie Seema, so I have a prepared speech, so I will be following my notes. I've just turned 40 this year, so I'm guessing I'm in between young and middle-aged, and currently tan skin. I've got black clothing, black pants. I've got a white undershirt with a black Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Disability Network work shirt, which has got a cultural design on it. Thank you, Uncle Willie, for your acknowledgement of country, and Auntie Seema for your question today. Today I stand before you as a proud representative of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Disability Network of Queensland. Our elders play a crucial part in our culture. For First Nations people, our elders are grounded and the core of our being. Therefore, it is imperative that we develop programs that our elders can utilise statewide. I too would like to acknowledge our elders on the land on which we meet. I acknowledge the dream time and the creation period in which our law, beliefs, customs were created, and the continuous connection our communities have to country, land and sea. When speaking on Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander matters, we must ask ourselves, what is culture? What is country? And what is disability? The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Disability Network was established over 20 years ago by a group of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here in Brisbane. The network was created as a response to the need for culturally safe space in Queensland where our people could feel welcome, supported and understood in their disability journey. This initiative was grounded in the understanding that First Nations people with a disability face unique challenges that require a culturally sensitive approach. The founding members who played a crucial role in establishing the network continue to be actively involved today, including Uncle Willie and Auntie Seema. They serve as directors and elders and have been instrumental in guiding the network through its evolution. I'm honoured to speak with you today about the future directions of ASTIC D&Q, and as we are moving through a transition to becoming a community-controlled organisation, run and controlled by First Nations people with disability, currently delivering our side-by-side First People Individual Advocacy statewide program. As we reflect on our journey, we are filled with gratitude for the resilience, strength and wisdom of our community. Our mission will always be to support and empower each other and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with disabilities, their families and communities. Today we look to the future with renewed energy and a clear vision for the path ahead. The transition is a significant step towards self-determination, allowing the network to operate with greater autonomy and responsiveness to the needs of our community. The challenges we face and the systemic issues that persist in our society continue to create barriers that prevent our people from accessing the services they need and deserve. But these challenges are not just statistics. They are real lived experiences that affect our mothers, our fathers, uncles, aunties, brothers and our children. The journey is not easy and the road is long, but we continue to help shape a future where Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, regardless of where they live and the challenges they face, can access the support they need to live with dignity, respect and pride. At ASTIC D&Q, our vision for the future is rooted in the principles of inclusion, respect and empowerment. We aim to achieve these with three key focused areas: enhanced community engagement and outreach, advocacy and policy development, cultural safety and empowerment. In looking at the implementation of the disability reforms and Brisbane 2032, inclusivity must be at the heart of all planning processes. This means ensuring that the voices of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with disability are included in decision making. We need to work closely with government bodies, the Brisbane 2032 Organising Committee and other stakeholders to ensure that the needs of our community are front and centre. This includes accessible infrastructure, culturally appropriate services and programs that cater to the unique needs of Indigenous people with disability. As we move towards 2032, the role of advocacy will be crucial. We must continue to build strong networks that can advocate effectively on behalf of our people. Brisbane 2032 presents a significant opportunity to create economic pathways for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with a disability. This could include employment opportunities linked to the Games, training programs and initiatives that support entrepreneurship. By fostering these opportunities now, we can ensure that communities benefit from the economic uplift that such a major event will bring. Cultural capacity building is essential. We need to ensure that all service providers and stakeholders involved in Brisbane 2032 understand, respect the cultural values and practices of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Technology will play a crucial role in both disability reform and the delivery of the Brisbane 2032. We should look at how we can leverage emerging technologies to improve accessibility, enhance communication and reach our rural and remote communities. We must foster collaborative partnership between government, non-for-profit, the private sector and our communities. Preparing today means taking deliberate, thoughtful actions that will pave the way for an inclusive and empowering future for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with disability. Brisbane 2032 is not just a moment in time, it's an opportunity to create lasting change. By acting now, we can ensure that the legacy of these disability reforms and the Games will be one of empowerment, inclusion and respect for all. Education and employment are crucial areas where we can leverage these changes to create a more inclusive future. Highlighting the achievements of First Nations people with disability is crucial in shifting perceptions and inspiring others. We should actively promote and celebrate success stories within our communities, using platforms like Brisbane 2032 to showcase the talents, resilience and contributions of our people. By doing this, we can challenge stereotype and foster a broader understanding and appreciation of the diversity within our communities. Collaboration is key to leveraging these changes effectively. Leadership must be grounded in a deep understanding of cultural values, traditions, and the unique experience of First Nations people. This ensures that decisions and actions resonate within the community and are guided by the principles that honour our heritage. Success means that First Nations people with a disability have equitable access to service, opportunities, and resources. Ongoing supports for program, continuous investment in community initiatives and the establishment of lasting infrastructure that benefits future generations. Success is also measured by the preservation and celebration of our culture. It's about ensuring that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with a disability can live in a way that is true to their cultural identity, with services and support systems that respect and uphold our traditions. Right now, we need to focus on building leadership capacity, strengthening advocacy networks, and ensuring cultural competency in our services. 1 minute to wrap it up. By focusing on these areas, we can lay a strong foundation for delivering a future where First Nations people with disability are not only included, but thrive in all aspects of life. As we look to the future, we are committed to working together with our community partners and stakeholders to create a more inclusive and equitable society. We believe by listening to the voices of our community, advocating for change and fostering cultural safety, we can make a real difference in the lives of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with disability. Together we build a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive and reach their full potential. Thank you, Minister and QDN, and I'd also like to thank Jeff and ADA and our MCs for the day and for your ongoing support and dedication to our mission. Let's move forward with hope, determination and unity.
Thank you. Thank you, Melanie, for that. Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done, personally, because of the situation that I sit in on a personal level, I feel that the time is coming where it's necessary to prioritise the work that we do for First Nations people with disabilities, and for there to be a deeper understanding by government stakeholders to support the cultural needs that we have, but also to support organisations and government with increasing cultural competency and having that deeper understanding of what cultural identity is and cultural safety is. So I think this is an area that really needs to start being looked at seriously in government, and Melanie has, from her paper, has outlined a lot of things, but there's so much work to do, and I think it's time that we go forward and prioritise this, because it's a long time coming and it really needs to start happening. And over to you, David. I invite David to give his views and have his talk about what he wants to talk about.
Thanks, Seema, and thanks, Michelle and QDN team, for the opportunity to be here today. It's always a privilege to be at a QDN event. I don't think anyone organises one with more precision than this team, so thank you so much. I'm here on behalf of Paula Arnold, who's the Chief Executive of the Queensland Aboriginal Islander Health Council, or QAIC. We're a peak body that's been in existence since 1990, and we advocate on behalf of 33 member organisations that provide comprehensive healthcare in over 70 clinics around Queensland. Our member services provide a range of healthcare supports, but also support Indigenous people in their communities with their social and emotional wellbeing needs, and many provide disability support coordination services or actively provide disability supports. So I'm here today because QAIC has recently been awarded a contract by the Department of Child Safety, Seniors and Disability Services to be the peak representative body for First Nations disability service providers. So when we're up and running in this role, which we're not quite yet, we'll be engaging with and supporting Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community-controlled organisations that are delivering disability services to First Nations people in Queensland. So our goal in that context will be to deliver accessible, culturally appropriate news, information, advice and referral services to First Nations disability service providers. This will include providing training and online resources to support the delivery of high-quality, culturally appropriate care. And that's something we already do in a health context and in an aged care context for our member services. So this new contract that we've been funded to deliver will require that we step outside service provision to just our members, but to work with a broader range of Aboriginal community-controlled organisations and partner with them, work with them to understand their needs and to develop the supports and resources they need to operate effectively, to provide supports to mob, but also to navigate the environment that, of government funding well, with support from an experienced peak organisation. We'll do this by drawing a lot on the expertise of the people in our member groups who do provide disability services, and there are some incredibly expert providers amongst our member group. We'll also be working closely with the department to promote the contribution that First Nations organisations make to the provision of effective disability services, but also the contribution they make to the community, our society, and Queensland's economy. We have done this well in aged care, and so we'll be leveraging that experience to work in the disability space. But I have to admit, we've been slow getting started in this job, and I can imagine looking at Max in the corner, he's thinking they should probably have been going a lot quicker. And I think that's a criticism that Quake acknowledges and we'll be responding to. We do see this as a key priority and something we need to get a move on with. Much of Quake's focus this year has been about advocacy to government and about creating new opportunities for people, not just with disability, but Indigenous people with complex health needs. And we've been doing that by advocating around the opportunities in the National Health Funding Reform Agreement, which include opportunities in the disability space to respond to some of the interface issues, to borrow some old government jargon, that people experience, and to try and close the gap in health experience that Indigenous people experience. And we've been really successful in that advocacy, so we're incredibly pleased this year to see the government make a record investment of $156 million in the Aboriginal community-controlled health sector, and that investment comes about in part as a consequence of Quake's capability as an advocacy organisation, and we're hoping to bring that same capability to our role as a peak provider. And so one of our first priorities, perhaps after this meeting, is going to be engaging with Uncle Paul and with Melanie and Seema and forging those partnerships that need to occur so we can support people well to provide disability supports and services to Indigenous people in Queensland. Just turning to that question of, you know, shaping an inclusive future and you know, realising a really improved life and well-being for Indigenous people by the time the Olympics arrive. One of the key learnings Quake's experienced is it's not just about having a voice at the table, although it's incredibly important. The key to closing the gap in our experience is actually empowering First Nations communities and leaders to lead. And I guess the challenge that we often put to government is that requires taking a back seat, providing support and funding for sure, but allowing community leaders who have incredible knowledge and expertise about the needs of their people to step forward and design and deliver solutions themselves. So if that's a message I can leave as something to aspire for by the time we arrive at the Olympics, it's that you have to put our incredible First Nations leaders in a position to make decisions, design solutions, and develop them in close consultation with their communities. And with that, I'm going to end 2 minutes short. Thanks, Seema.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, David, and thank you for what you've said about going forward, because there is that need for people, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with a disability, excuse me, with the lived experience expertise to be recognised and to be at that table and to be co-designing the things that we need. And for that lived experience, that First Nations lived experience, people with disabilities, First Nations people with a disability, lived experience expertise to actually be recognised as a professional expertise from where they sit and from the experience that they have with disability, the day-to-day of disability, complex disability, as Sharon said earlier. Sometimes we talk about disability, but we don't talk about the complexities where coming from for a person with a disability, whether they're First Nations or whatever nationality, that it can take 2 hours to come from the bed and get to the kitchen table to eat with the support that you require. So, you know, this is a wonderful opportunity to start really talking about having deeper conversations about the reality of disability, and talking about having those conversations that we can talk about the reality and what we can do with the reality, and join forces with stakeholders, with governments, but still having that lived experience voice, or that personal experience voice at the table, and being heard and having the opportunity to be listened to. So yeah, so this is really exciting with with what you're saying. It's really exciting that there'll be opportunities that we can all get together and start talking about what is actually needed, and how we do that, and how we go forward with this extremely slow-moving pace of First Nations people with a disability, the response to the cultural needs and the disability needs. So on that note, I would like to thank our panel, Uncle Paul Calcott, Melanie and David, and would you all like to join in and thank them? Thank you, everybody. Thank you.